the Science Guy. Bill Nye the Science Guy. Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Science rules.
Talking about dynamics, which is the connection between forces and motion.
Today we'll be also talking about mass, inertia, friction, gravity, and Newton's laws. A force is a push or pull on any object. I just exerted a push on Mario.
And I just exerted a force onto the ground.
Sir Isaac Newton was an English physicist who lived in the 18th century. He came up with the three basic laws of motion that we still use today.
The first law of motion states that any object will continue moving until acted upon by another force, or that any object will stay at rest until acted upon by another force.
We're going to show you some examples right now.
This object will stay at rest until acted upon by another force, like when I kick it.
Inertia is the tendency of an object to stay at rest or stay in uniform motion constantly. A house is a really good example of inertia of an object at rest. It won't move a lot.
Mass is the measurement of inertia. The more mass equals more inertia. So this car, it has a lot of inertia because it is hard for me to stop it.
This foam ball has a lot less inertia than the car, meaning Mario can stop it.
Newton's second law states that acceleration is produced when a force acts on a mass. The more mass, the more force is needed to accelerate the object. This stick of gum has a lot less mass than this vase, so it needs a lot less force to pick it up. Picked up pretty easily. Now when I try to pick up this vase, doesn't go up as easily.
Force equals mass times acceleration. So if you wanted to figure out how much force is actually needed to move something, why don't we take this vase? If this vase weighed about 10 kilograms and I was picking it up at about 3 meters per second squared, then the amount would be about 30 newtons. Newton's third law states that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So if I push Mario, then that means he's going to push me. This is an example of Newton's third law when there's an equal and opposite reaction going backwards. See, we're not going anywhere, so that's good. But if there was no opposite reaction and I would push Mario, he would actually... Another example of Newton's third law is if I was to hit my head on the desk, as so. That hurts because as I'm pushing force down against the desk is actually pushing force back on my head, causing it to hurt a lot.
Friction is the force that causes an object to slow down and eventually stop. The ball is moving that way, so the friction is moving the opposite way, which is causing the ball to slow down and eventually stop. This is an example of kinetic friction. Kinetic friction is the friction that acts upon any object that is in motion.
The other type of friction besides kinetic friction is called static friction. Here's an example. When trying to move something on a horizontal plane, you have to exert an amount of force on it. So right now I'm exerting an amount of force on this chair. It's not going anywhere because of the great amount of static friction on it. But eventually, when you give enough force, it'll start to be kinetic friction on the ground.
Force that is always pushing downward towards the center of the earth, which keeps us from floating away into space.
Because we're on Earth, there's a great amount of gravity pushing down on everything. So when I roll a ball, an extra force is acting upon it besides friction. It is the gravity. It is causing the ball to slow down faster than it would if there was almost no gravity.
There is less gravity, then there is less of a force pushing down on us, causing us to be weightless.
So, if we were on the moon and there was less weight... Oh wait, we need our space helmets first. Whoa. Today we have learned about dynamics,
Forces,
Newton's three laws,
mass,
inertia,
friction.
and gravity. I'm Brian Needles, and this is Mary and I, the science guy.
Reporting from Brian Needles' laboratory and have a nice and fun-filled physics.
Bill Nye the Science Guy. Bill Nye the Science